Waking up this morning and looking outside at our cold, snowy weather, it's hard to believe that in just a few days, on Tu B'Shvat, we're supposed to be imagining that the sap is starting to flow in the trees, that growth is beginning, and yes, spring is on its way. I'm sure that many of us feel that our growth is a bit stuck with the pandemic restrictions mixed in with the weather and the general state of the world. All this has, in a very real way, put our journeys on hold. This is when we have to hold on to the faith, the hope that something will begin to get better. On this Shabbat of crossing the sea, on this Shabbat Shirah of raising our voices in song, we can only look up. The story we read this week, from standing at the edge of the sea of reeds to a hope that the journey will lead to freedom, is a story filled with questions and quite a bit of faith. Once a year, on this Parshat Beshelach, Shabbat Shirah, we are compelled to remember that no matter how you connect with the story, and whether or not you believe in God or something beyond ourselves, faith does have a place in our story. But thankfully, the story is also about action, which needs to go hand in hand with faith. There's, of course, the well-known story, the Midrash of the Sea of Reeds. When Israel was at the sea, the tribes began quarreling with one another. This one said, "I'll go first." The other one said, "I'll go first." Meanwhile, Nachshon ben Aminadav, the one brave soul who was ready not just to have faith but to take action, took a step into the sea, and only then did the sea part. There has to be a healthy balance between faith on the one hand and human initiative on the other. Thankfully, we don't advocate blind faith in Judaism. We don't just believe, we need to do. The kind of faith we have needs us as much as it needs the mystery beyond us. Depending on our theologies, some may believe that there's a God above that will do God's part of taking care of us in our world, but that never even takes away for a moment the obligation that we have to do our own part. We know that being part of a faith and culture that's built on questions is important, and that faith is not static. To put simply, sometimes we have faith in ourselves and others in the world, and sometimes we don't. And faith is not at its core about whether you believe in a supernatural God beyond us, or as Mordechai Kaplan said, the force that makes for salvation, or whether you choose to call yourself, that term that doesn't work so well in the creative, flexible Judaism, an atheist. It's a lifelong journey of conviction and doubting, belief and disbelief, certainty and skepticism. The Israelites in their long journey through the desert never became a people who had a static and undying faith. We didn't have a Messiah appear at just the right time to save us from all of our troubles, do all the hard work of slogging through the challenges of life. We live knowing we are waiting for and never reach this perfection. Our goal instead isn't to cultivate or gain a certain amount of faith, to cross the sea, check the box, and then move on. Instead, we explore, question, engage in the conversation about the world and all that it throws at us. And it's through this experiencing of life, like Nachshon, that we take the steps into the unknown and that we create our own path.